have two very important posts from developers coming hot off the press from their Discord server. One is about AERO being on the watch list, and we're going to talk about that. And the other one is about a possible change for hot and featured locations. I know that is a source of contention for a lot of players, especially the length of the featured locations. First things first, we would like to know if AERO is on the watch list. And then this is Steven from Second Dinner who put the eyes. And so what that means is that they could potentially do a change to AERO. The last time that I remember them talking about characters on the watch list is when they talked about Galactus and Leader. And a couple things, I hope that they take their time and do this. I don't think it needs to be rushed or anything like that. It's nice to see if there is a certain meta and to see if AERO is actually becoming oppressive. I do think she's one of the best cards, if not the best card in the game. And so that does merit discussion. Secondly, I really would like for them to buff cards. If they're going to be nerfing cards, I feel like they should be equally buffing other cards to make them more playable. And thirdly, in general, with the exception of one card, Second Dinner has done a good job of rebalancing cards while still keeping them playable. In the past, and I've been playing the game since May, they've rebalanced cards, and initially I thought it was super terrible, but then after a couple of weeks, I actually thought it was okay. The exception to this is Leader. They blew up that card. That card is not playable now. And I feel like they need to make it right. I think they went too far with Leader. They changed the way the card worked. He's kind of like a weird version of Claw, and he's just not playable, and he definitely needs an adjustment up. So whatever they're going to do, we'll have to see. I hope that they do it right, and I hope they take their time. I know a lot of people are going to be very upset about AERO being nerfed. She is probably the best card in the game right now. One of them for sure. Her and Shuri and She-Hulk see a lot of play. Also, this is from the same developer, Steven. You'd be surprised how much we read. We have plans to shorten featured locations for 24 hours and may experiment with not having a hot location for a week or two at some point. Now, my take on featured and hot locations is that they are good for the game because they change things up. I do feel that times that the featured location is too long. And my feeling is that this is when I climb the most. Engaged players that are watching YouTube videos kind of know what to do when these new locations come, and they take advantage of it, as opposed to a player who is not willing to engage with the new featured location or the hot location. I typically try to take a deck that works with or without the location and maybe sprinkle in some other cards and then take advantage of the situation with a tier 2 or tier 3 deck. That way the deck still works if the location doesn't show up, but when it does show up, you get a lot of gains. And I typically climb the most on featured and hot location days where a player that is very casual ignores it and they just give away cubes. So I hope this change makes a lot of sense. Now, also, there's going to be a new bundle coming to the game February 22nd, and this is my favorite bundle for the month. This is the Birth Pool bundle. If you have gold saved, it costs 3,200 gold. It gives 3,200 credits. It has 1,500 collector tokens, and the rest of this is cosmetic. And this is the best bundle that is coming this month, with the exception of maybe a Momoko Magic bundle. Now, we don't know the price on this, but it feels very similar to the Jubilee bundle that we had last month, which was my favorite bundle for last month. But we don't know the price on this, but this bundle right here will have the Mystique variant. And if you do not have the card, you can actually play the variant, but the card will still show up on your collector's reserve when it's supposed to. This right here will give you the opportunity to play it in advance of that happening. And this will have 1,500 gold and 1,500 credits. I suppose if it's 10 US dollars, that'll be a reasonable deal. Also coming to the game very shortly is going to be Stature. In my opinion, I'm not super interested in this card yet. My opinion can be changed. I'm not going to be buying this card for 6,000 collector tokens. 6,000 collector tokens, in my opinion, is worth about $200 to me. And if I have to choose between Kang or Stature, I'm going to choose Kang. And then if Stature becomes a thing, then of course I will look into it. She's going to maybe bring some viability to cards like Black Bolt and Moon Knight, because the way it works is cost 1 if your opponent discarded a card from their hand this game. This card will get a lot of play, of course, if there continues to be a high discard meta. But if you want to facilitate this when you're not playing a discard deck, really the only way to do that is with Black Bolt and a Moon Knight. Now, somebody asked me about Yondu, and I kind of take a little bit of an issue with the way that Yondu works. On reveal, remove the top card of your opponent's deck. Now, I do think remove is the right word. I had a discussion about maybe it should say destroy, because this does interact favorably with cards like Null and Death, where there are benefits to when cards are destroyed. But it does not interact at all with Wolverine. Wolverine is just removed from the deck. He is not actually destroyed. He doesn't get bounced onto the board. And I kind of feel like he should. And also, Apocalypse is not discarded. He's removed from the top deck. So I guess the wording is correct, because if it did say destroy the top card of your opponent's deck, then Wolverine would bounce out to the field. So it is a different effect. But I just want to say that the wording on Yondu is super vague. It is not obvious unless you know how it works by playing the card. You just wouldn't know that it synergizes with cards like Death and Null. Also, there's a new card coming next month, and I just wanted to talk about this card. It's of high interest to me. Master Mold. On reveal, add 2 Sentinel to your opponent's hand. One of the discussions that has come up a lot is how do you counteract Dracula, which is kind of tricky. That may or may not directly impact Dracula. I mean, I feel like Dracula decks typically running MODOK, so maybe they're going to discard everything anyways. But this definitely should help a little bit against Dracula decks, and it also might bring some cards into play that have not gotten a lot of play. I was thinking about Ronin. Now, when I played draft mode with Arnold, I found Ronin to be a very powerful card. I'm guessing right now that Ronin doesn't see any play because of MODOK and the MODOK meta, and so he's not getting any use. So maybe there will be some good synergies, absolutely, with Master Mold and Ronin. I could also see a situation where you can clog up your opponent's hand where they hit the 7-card max and they stop drawing cards. That would synergize very well with Darkhawk. And then, of course, that would synergize insanely well with Black Widow. And then, of course, you could run Maximus. Kind of painful to play Maximus on turn 3 at times because you're giving your opponent 2 draws. And maybe that will work out in some good way with Master Mold, where if they already have those 2 cards, they're not actually going to be drawing cards from their deck. They're just going to be stuck with Sentinels. We will have to see. I'm interested in this card for sure. I'm absolutely interested next week for when King comes to the game. That seems very exciting. Let me know what you think about all this. Are you interested in Stature? What are your thoughts about the potential nerf to AERO? Are you excited about the changes that could be made to featured and hot locations? Absolutely. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And as always, thanks for watching and keep on gaming. Bye for now.